What up, everybody? This is Mr. Stan coming at you with another physics video. This time we're going to talk about the law of reflection, right? And so what you see on the screen now is a flashlight, and there's light coming out of the flashlight. Now, this is not really drawn the way it really is because in real life, light is a wave, right? And so it's not a straight line. If you can imagine that there's a bunch of light waves coming out and it will go in every direction. Um, and there'll be crests and there'll be troughs. But we want to draw all that. So a way that we draw light in a way that we can see what it does is called a light ray, right? So a light ray is not a real thing. It's a simplification of what's out there. But basically, a light ray is a arrow that we draw that shows the direction that light is traveling. Okay, and for for this unit, we're not going to be looking at all the light rays because there's literally a light ray in every single direction. We're just going to look at what one light ray at a time does, and that's going to help us understand um, how the light behaves and how it causes us to see things the way it does. Okay, so out of all the light rays that we could have chosen, we chose the one that goes from the flashlight to this point on the mirror, right? And because there's light traveling everywhere, we know that there is some light that is going in this direction from the light directly down to the mirror. Now, in which direction is this light ray going to bounce? Because we know that when light hits a mirror, it bounces off. And the way you find this is you take a line that is perpendicular to the mirror, like that. So this dotted line is a imaginary line that's just perpendicular to the mirror. There's a 90-degree angle here, a 90-degree angle here. And then you look at what angle the light ray makes with this imaginary line. Okay, and whatever angle that angle is going to be on the other side, and where the angle ends is where the light is reflected. Right? And so the law of reflection says that whatever angle the light comes in, that is the angle that it reflects off. Okay, so this is, and then here's how we label all this. The light that's coming in is called the incident ray, and that angle is called the angle of incidence. And the light that bounces off is called the reflected ray, and this is the angle of reflection. So the official way to state this is that the angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. Okay, now that's simple enough. What happens if the mirror is tilted? Okay, something like that. Well, you do the same thing. You would have a line that is perpendicular to the surface of the mirror. Okay, so it's not going to be straight up and down. Okay, it's going to be perpendicular, which means it's going to be slanted as well. Right, and then you find the angle between the incident ray and the perpendicular line. And then that angle goes on the other side as well. And wherever that angle ends, that's where you would expect to find the reflected ray. All right, here's another example. This time, if we find a line that's perpendicular to the mirror, is instead of being up and down or slanted, it's going to be straight side to side. And this is what would happen if like there's a mirror hanging on a flat wall. There's the angle of incidence, angle of reflection, and then this is where the reflected ray would be. Okay. So what about curved mirrors? All right, how do we do this with a curved mirror? Well, with a curved mirror, you're going to look at the point at which the ray would touch the mirror, and you're going to put a what we call a tangent line, right? And what a tangent line is just imagine you had a straight stick or maybe a toothpick or something that's straight, and you put it and you rested it on the mirror where the light ray hits the mirror. Okay, and if you did that, obviously the straight thing is not going to curve. It's going to be just like this. Okay, so you're going to use this as your starting point for finding out where the reflected ray is. So you would take a line that's perpendicular to that, to that tangent line, find the angle of incidence, all right? It's going to be a tiny one. Put the angle on the other side, and that's where the reflected ray would be. Okay, so with a curved mirror, you just have the extra step of finding this tangent line. All right, let's do it again. This time, the light ray is coming in at a different angle, and it's going to hit around here. So if you just imagine if you put like a straight ruler, toothpick, whatever you want to think of that's straight and rigid, right there, right, it would be in that direction. So you do a line that's perpendicular to that line. I'll give you the angle of incidence. Put that angle on the other side, and that is where the light is going to be reflected off. Okay, we'll do it from this side now. The tangent line, perpendicular line to the tangent line. There's an angle, there's an angle of reflection, and there is where the light would bounce off. Okay, this one is curved inwards, right? But we'll still do the same thing. Okay? Just imagine where a straight, rigid line would rest on the mirror, and this is a point where the light ray reaches the mirror, so that's where we will rest it. Make a perpendicular line. This time have it pointing toward inwards, right? So that we can see what the angle is doing. There's the angle of incidence. That same angle on the other side, you get the angle of reflection, and that is where you would draw the reflected ray. And that's where we'd expect to see the reflected ray from that. Another example, tangent line, line perpendicular to the tangent line, angle of incidence, angle of reflection, and there's a reflected ray. Okay. And here's the final example. There's a tangent line, and perpendicular to the tangent line, there's the incident ray, and there is the reflected ray. I mean, the incident angle and the reflected angle is going to be the same. And so there is a reflected ray. Okay, so that is how the law of reflection works, and we're going to be looking at how that affects what mirrors do, and mirrors are certain shapes. I'll see you all in the next video.